Prince Harry's had enough. It's very obvious, not just from his public demeanor, which is, of course, increasingly miserable. It looks like he has aged about a decade in the past 6 months, but also his moves. Because this decision in the week for the UK government, I believe, to some degree at the behest of King Charles, to reassess Harry's security arrangements, according to many tapped-in royal insiders who have previously been on the side of the Sussexes, including Tom Sykes of the Royalists, including Jack Royston of Newsweek, say this can only have come because Harry now intends to spend a great deal of his year in the United Kingdom not only developing a rival royal court to Prince William, but also managing to spend as much time away from his wife, Meghan Markle, as possible. Tash, we'll get into some of the details. This is according to Taz, royal YouTube sensation, with me now. And Tash, I want to get into some of the details of this momentarily. But what do you make of this reversal? Because it does feel very odd, Tash, that he would lose his case. You know, the Home Office would win their case in court. And then just 5 months later, there would be this new assessment. What changed? Do you believe what changed? Was Harry admitting, trust me, you've got to listen to me. I'm going to be in the United Kingdom much, much more?
I believe that Harry is just trying his luck. I believe that Harry has never been able to handle being told no like a toddler. I think that Harry was lobbying Yvette Cooper when she was the Home Secretary, and then he's then switched up to Shabina Mahmood, who is now the new Home Secretary. Harry is entitled under Ravek to have assessments. He hasn't won anything. It doesn't mean that he's going to win this, but he is entitled, I think it's meant to be every so many years, to have a review. And to be honest with you, I really hope it backfires on him because he's pushed for this. And it's all about him wanting to increase his, I would say, his security. He wants taxpayer funded. He wants to be paid for. He doesn't want to be paying for his own security. He wants to be internationally protected. So governments all around the world, he and Meghan can swan about the world, and the governments then have to dip into their taxpayers' money, and everybody has to pay for Harry and Meghan's security. And I think that he has just pushed and pushed and pushed. They're doing the assessment. I don't think that the way the mainstream media are trying to push it, that Harry is trying to move back here. I can't see him leaving his children. This to me just comes across as another tack on to this one big temper tantrum. Harry didn't like it that the Queen said he couldn't have all of his toys. So Harry is still throwing a tantrum 7 years later. He wants all of his toys. He doesn't want to be part of the royal family. I do believe he's still trying to directly challenge his brother. I do believe that Harry and Meghan are trying to set up their own royal court. And I do believe that Harry will continue to try to compete and to clash with his brother at events. Do I think that Harry, if he starts coming over to the UK more, he will just happen to time his visits every single time there's a big event for the Prince and Princess of Wales? Oh, yes, absolutely. And that's why it's very important for him not to have these allowances given back to him. He doesn't want to support the UK or the monarchy, the crown, his family, the Commonwealth realms. He wants to compete with his brother, and taxpayers should not be picking up the bill for a man who chose to quit country, quit his duties to have a life of celebrity, chasing awards, round of applause, and obviously the paparazzi.
You're so right, Tash, because we saw this week, for example, Prince William celebrate his 20 years with the Centrepoint charity and say, quite interestingly, because some people would say this would be a slight at other royals and how they've done things, but I think it's more a statement of intent about how he wants to do things, about how Catherine wants to do things. And he said, I never intended to be an ornamental patron. And that came via one of the senior figures in the charity. And the irony is that's exactly what Harry claimed he was going to do, but of course never did, because it became all about making money and fighting fires and dealing with his mad wife, effectively. But this would be bad news for William. It's difficult to deny that, because he is attempting to modernize the monarchy. It's going to be difficult, Tash. He's already clashing with his dad about some aspects with this. He's already clashing with other members of the royal family about some aspects of this. It's going to be difficult. Having Harry there to constantly throw grenades would be really disastrous. Even, Tash, if it was, for example, over 3 months of the year.
Harry will go out of his way to try and undermine his brother. He will then also have the freedoms to say and do things that Prince William perhaps can't because of his position and because he is also a statesman. Prince William is a statesman on the global stage. He meets with world leaders. People still, for some unknown reason, see Harry as this, oh, he's still fun. He's still that fun, jokey prince in his 20s. Look at the way he mucks around and makes a fool of himself at events. Yes, he's little more than a court jester. But what does Harry bring publicly to any of the events that he goes to? A bit of publicity, but it's often about him because he makes it about himself. When you see Prince William, Catherine, you see the Duke and Duchess of Edinburgh, the Princess Royal, so on and so forth. When they go to events, you hear about the events. When they even pose for photographs, you genuinely see the people, and you have Catherine and William more to the side. It's about using their platform to uplift others. Harry and Meghan use charities to uplift themselves. We've seen this pattern. This is possibly why they started having a lot of clashes with the royal family before the Royal Foundation was split from the apparent Fab Four. And Prince William decided, nope, not happening. It's not working. And then we've seen this behavior continue. Harry and Meghan, the disaster tourists, they will use people's grief, they will use people's charities, and it's all about a big positive PR photo shoot for them. So, yes, they do behave very differently to the Prince and Princess of Wales. So, with Harry trying to compete with his brother all the time, you do have people comparing and saying, well, Prince William's being a bit boring. Prince William's a little bit stuffy. Oh, look at Harry, he's fun. Prince William is a grown man doing his best for the UK, for the Commonwealth realms. He takes his position in life very seriously. Harry is a fool being paid to just promote what exactly other than himself?
Now, let's just take a look at Tom Sykes's reporting, Tash, because it was fascinating and I think it was very balanced, actually. He wrote, the sudden shift has jolted the "is Harry coming home" narrative into high gear, while rattling friends of Prince William who had hoped that the Sussex question had been settled by, well, exile. Although any move is unlikely to be full-time, which fits in with what you're saying, Tash. He will never leave the kids full-time. Harry has made no secret of his longing to spend more time in Britain. His recent nostalgic, faintly melancholy essay about missing the self-deprecating banter of British life now reads like a man rehearsing the idea of homecoming. He has said repeatedly with rising exasperation that he cannot show up and do good in Britain if the state refuses to protect him. That the state now appears ready to revisit that refusal has the look of a political and procedural tide quietly turning. Ignited the speculation afresh as a discovery by Newsweek's chief royal correspondent Jack Royston. And we've got to remember, for a long time, Jack Royston was just operating as a propagandist for Harry and Meghan, who unearthed from court records a 2020 statement by Sir Richard Mottram, the former chair of RAVAC, the body that decides who among Britain's elite qualifies for state protection. Mottram explained at the time that Harry's decision to live mainly abroad meant he no longer fell within the remit of the Risk Management Board, the mechanism that assesses the dangers facing senior working royals and top officials. The RMB, Mottram said, was designed for UK residents. A non-resident prince, no matter how famous or how emphatically targeted, would have to accept a bespoke alternative. Royston summarised the essence of the position as RAVAC's decision was not that Harry wasn't at risk, but that the RMB process was designed for UK residents. In 2020, RAVAC was saying, in effect, you are a high-profile target, but not our high-profile target. That Harry then sued the Home Office and lost in an attempt to force the state to treat him like a resident again only deepened the sense of stalemate. Which is why the fact he is now being given RMB deserves real attention. As Royston writes, One thing that could trigger a new risk assessment would be if Harry were planning to move back. The point is that for the past 4 years, British officials have held the line that nothing in Harry's circumstances justified reopening the question. For them to do so now suggests that something, perhaps everything, there's that nod to some type of divorce in the future, has changed. The broader context also cannot be ignored. The British state is recalibrating itself in the twilight of Charles's reign, and while William wants nothing to do with Harry, and friends of his expressed irritation to the royalist about the new development, the system itself may want clarity before the throne changes hands. What happens if Harry begins spending part of the year in Britain? What level of security does a quasi-royal, quasi-celebrity prince require? Who pays? Who decides? What precedent does it set for the next generation? None of these questions have been tidily answered by the bungled handling of his protection until now, and the RMB's reappearance only underscores how unfinished the business really is. Jack Royston told the royalist, "I never in a million years thought I'd find myself entertaining the idea that Harry would move back. But this decision on his risk assessment is so out of left field, I struggle with the idea that he just sweet-talked his way into it. Power is not supposed to work that way, and the case for not giving him an RMB is contained in sworn witness statements to the High Court. The tantalizing thing about this theory, which is a completely wild theory, is that it follows Oaken's razor, that the simplest explanation is usually the correct one. And it is the simplest explanation for why the Home Office would backtrack just 7 months after beating Harry in court. Tash, your response?
I believe that Harry has no intentions of leaving Meghan. I believe that this is all about trying to get their security paid for by the taxpayers, because if the UK do that, then it will now then allow him to be able to claim taxpayers' money in other countries that he visits. Governments provided security, because he will need that no matter where he lives. I think that Harry and Meghan have ramped up trying to remind the world that they're royals, because they did try dropping it for a bit, because they were going to be A-list celebrities. They were going to be big. They were going to be billionaires. They were going to be bigger than the Obamas. You remember all of that they pushed? And it's not worked out. And Harry is losing a lot of money every single year. I can't imagine what their bills are. They need that security covered. So, what have we had in the last year? We've had Meghan using her titles, Meghan getting people to announce her as the Duchess of Sussex as she walks into rooms. You've got Harry, who is now on a campaign trying to be, he separated himself from Meghan. He's trying to go back to what he was doing. He wants people to see him as a member of the British royal family still. Why? Because that will help increase and bolster his case in getting security and being treated like a member of the royal family. The same if Harry starts coming over to the UK more. He believes it will then trigger him having more allowances and more of a heightened security risk because of his travel, because he's in the UK, to get the security reinstated. You've only got to look at 2 incidences that we've had this year. We had a woman who happens to be a fan of his, who ended up screaming, "I love you, Harry," in the courtroom, where Harry, of course, there was a press release that Harry was fearing for his life because he had a fan scream that she loved him. He should be grateful he's got a fan at all. And then the similar thing with the recent trip over for the World Child Awards. The police were sweeping the hotel. So don't tell me he doesn't have protection. People still don't understand. He does have a lot of protection. They were sweeping the hotel with sniffer dogs at a cost I can only imagine to the taxpayers. And they found a known Sussex squad member of his fan base who had followed him. And she was hiding in the toilets to see him. No different to the sort of fans that chase celebrities all around the world all of the time. She wasn't a danger, she wasn't a threat. But this has all come at the same time. And lo and behold, Harry's now getting a review. I think it is all just one big plot to try and get his security back. I don't think he's got any intentions of moving back to the UK. I think that's all noise.
Tash,
And that's my rant.
no, I loved it. I loved it. It was fascinating, and we've given both sides there, which is great. I think because everything went down with Thomas Markle this week, what in some ways was overshadowed was the true disaster and horror of Meghan's dying Netflix career, dying was never career. And there are a couple of things I wanted to pick up on with you here. Firstly, congratulations to Resting Dollface, who discovered that after Prince Harry had invoked Downton Abbey, saying that being royal is like being in Downton Abbey, in what I believed was a dig at the British royal family. She discovered that Meghan Markle had appeared to copy one of these Downton Abbey treats. You'll see there on the left, Tash, was Downton Abbey in 2014. On the right, Meghan Markle in 2025. And it does just show you, doesn't it? They don't have an original thought, Tash.
Shocked. I'm shooketh, Dan. I need to clutch my pearls if I had any. Come on, Meghan plagiarising something yet again? Not surprised, not shocked. Meghan perhaps feeding the Downton Abbey line to her husband to read because it's so funny. Yes, it seems like Harry and Meghan are still thick as thieves. I know there's been a lot of rumblings. I thought it myself about those two separating, but they're in on this all. They're in on it together. There's too many things that Harry says that Meghan says. He parrots stuff. This is just, they're just still scamming, jamming. I mean, she is a jam scam artist, isn't she? In every which way possible. She stole the logo. She's stolen the things she does with the jams off of people. I mean, it's pretty endless. But yeah.
And then we come to the With Love Meghan reviews. Thank you so much to Nancy Sidley, because I am going to enjoy this. She has put them all together with sources, Tash. And I think because everyone just moved on from With Love Meghan, the holiday celebration, because it was in no charts whatsoever, we haven't really spoken about how truly horrifying it was and how the woke media even turned against her. So let me get to just reading out some of the highlights of this review. The Independent. All a little Stepford Wives, not informative, fun, enjoyable, or even aspirational. Then even their alternative review couldn't support it. Predictably insipid, a one-star festive effort, said the hard left newspaper. The Guardian. She serves food that looks like animal droppings and cooks a meal that Prince Harry hates. A glossy, hollow exercise in curated perfection. Her old pals at the Washington Post. Her advice felt so basic as to be condescending or so elevated as to be out of touch. The Irish Times. The reek of forced fun is ever present. Even Harry looks embarrassed. It becomes numbing in its relentless self-congratulation. The Spectator. Unendurable. A chore to sit through. The Duchess is simply not a compelling television presence. The News. Pointless. A tone-deaf attempt at festive lifestyle branding. Decider, more style than substance, a festive special nobody asked for. The Evening Standard, remember they did an interview for that newspaper once. Mad, sad, and self-indulgent. The Express, a holiday flop met with overwhelmingly poor reviews. And the viewer consensus on Rotten Tomatoes, painful to watch, artificial, and empty. The Netflix career is over, Tash.
I seen that they ended with Rotten Tomatoes. I saw it floating around earlier and I looked myself. Rotten Tomatoes gave her a 0 rating. I have never, ever seen that on Rotten Tomatoes about anything. Anything. 0. That to me tells you absolutely everything, and there's certainly no lies detected with any of those headlines. In fact, I think some of those headlines were actually quite complimentary, given that I watched this utter drivel of a show. It was by far the worst, and I think it was the worst because it was festive. And you think, who can mess up Christmas? Who can mess up festivities? Who can mess up and make something like advent calendars and Christmas crackers so boring that you would just rather switch off than continue with it? Meghan Markle, that's who. The Grinch didn't steal Christmas, she did.
Indeed, she did. She very much did. And the other bad news for her this week, Tash, was her own neighbours in California turning on her as well, being dubbed a holiday hypocrite by this trendy LA boutique, which just would have hurt her very much. This was the reporting from the Daily Mail. Awards season is fast approaching in Hollywood, but Meghan Markle has already been given a gong that she may not be too keen on. The Duchess of Sussex has been named as a Villain of the Year by an LA boutique whose owners have also branded her a Montecito diva. Meghan is featured in a rogues gallery of holiday hypocrites as part of a scathing Christmas window display at high-end department store Kitson, the trendy shop in Robertson Boulevard, located between Beverly Hills and West Hollywood, so just near the Melrose Place Soho House pop-up of Was Never, has named Meghan as one of 2025's villains, along with California Governor Gavin Newsom, George Clooney and Katy Perry. Kitson's so-called holiday hypocrisy window display has become famous in Los Angeles since it began in 2020. This year, Meghan makes the list and she is featured in a mocked-up magazine cover where she and other public figures are made to look silly in Santa hats. The Duchess's hat has Montecito Diva in it. So I think what is just so interesting, Tash, is that they have turned in California. They have turned in the heart of Meghan's woke enclave.
Yeah, she's not safe from anyone anymore. I think a lot of the magazines and newspapers that you thought years ago, they'll never say a bad word against her. Well, they do. I think the star has well and truly fallen. It's everybody can see them for what they are. They're fake. They're phonies. They are absolute hypocrites over every single possible thing that you can think of. Anything from their children having titles right down to Meghan completely ignoring her father despite him being on his deathbed at one point. I mean, they preach kindness whilst they treat their staff horribly and put some of them in therapy. I mean, they are just the most hypocritical couple out there. They have featured on the Kitson store before many years ago. I think it might have been after Oprah and people looked down on them badly for attacking the family. I can't remember what it was for, but they have briefly appeared, but as a couple. But yeah, Meghan being on that, it's an accolade she's finally earned. That's up there with, I think it was Ranker. She's the most disliked celebrity in the United States. I think she even managed to beat P. Diddy. So that's that's not good.
It really isn't good, is it, Tash? It really isn't good. And I guess that then makes it more understandable why Prince Harry might be trying to get out of LA. I mean, I want to just show you some of this leaked footage from inside the event where he spoke at. Now, this was, of course, a business event, but it coincided with the World Cup announcement. But what I found so intriguing, Tash, I mean, I think he was very insipid in the speech. He got a very lukewarm reaction. And you'll see at the end that no one actually wanted to give him a standing ovation at all, right? And trust me, I've been in these American events in Los Angeles. Like, we are sort of a little bit more nonchalant, us Brits at events, and reserved, and we don't sort of do the whooping and the hollering, but Americans do, and I love it. But like, there was so little during the speech because it just wasn't very good. It wasn't very funny. He made the dig at Donald Trump and ICE. People didn't like that. But I think it just shows overall how far his stock has fallen. So watch this.
And next year, I know we're all looking forward to welcoming many more fellow Brits from across the pond, provided they behave and they make it through customs, past ICE, and everything else. The World Cup is coming to the United States. Both England and Scotland. Being British isn't about where you physically stand, but what you stand for. I recently wrote about our armed forces for Remembrance Day and what that past experience brought up for me. Service, duty, camaraderie, being part of something larger than yourself, and, of course, banter.
Tash, so slow to get to their feet. Did you see that? And then, like, the moment that it was socially acceptable, not only were they down, but the clapping just stopped. Like, there was no love in the room for Harry, even
No.
in Los Angeles at a British-focused event.
Yeah, I mean, there was genuine cheers and applause when he said about the World Cup. That's the sort of expectation that you would have when someone, a prominent figure such as Prince Harry, not obviously him, but someone else, you would get that. You also get a lot of people that would stand up, stand in ovation, and give him the applause before the person has left the stage. But it's almost like someone said, "Oh, come on, everybody better stand up and clap." And everyone's like, "Oh, fine. Well, I'll get up if you get up. Oh, look, George has stood up over there. Oh, look, Dave's standing. We better stand up." It was just this, you could almost hear a collective groan, and people were just being polite. And yeah, he has completely lost his royal sparkle. He lost it a long time ago, but appearing at events like this, Harry speaking at housing, what was it, in Ontario? It's all to do with the housing market, this to do with businesses. Harry's got no business being at any of these places. He knows absolute zip about running businesses, about the housing market, about all the other things that he's done. What is it? He's done business equity and social media. He literally needs to. Well, I mean, what could you honestly see him at, Dan? What could you honestly see him making an appearance at where Harry would actually know what he was talking
Oh my
about,
God,
other
I
than
know.
screwing over your family? Is that an expo? Could we have something like that? Selling your family down the river for 30 pieces of silver? Do they have big events like that?
What about a lesson in hypocrisy, right? I'd actually like to hear that. Like, this is how you pretend to the world you're an environmentalist, but actually get all of your friends to fly you on your private jet. I'd listen to that. But no, I totally
Yeah,
agree. It's like so funny. This is a desperate time for him because he needs the money. And so he needs
that's
to
obvious.
get the public speaking gigs, right? And he hopes that people don't film them because they're so bad. But the problem is no one is liking what he's selling at the moment. So he's really struggling to
No.
get these paid gigs. It is fascinating, Tash. But look, thank you so much for rounding it all up with us. It has been an insane royal week, and we will speak next week. But of course, if you do want much more,
Daughters' dilemma, Beatrice and Eugenie facing dilemma after King's invite to royal Christmas at Sandringham, while Andrew and Fergie exiled. Sources say the situation has now become a logistical and emotional nightmare for the siblings Princess Eugenie and Princess Beatrice. Beatrice and Eugenie are facing a dilemma after being invited by King Charles to the royals' Christmas celebration, sources have claimed. The princesses are understood to be left on the fence after disgraced father and ex-prince Andrew and Fergie were both exiled. Both daughters remain loyal to the king and to the institution, and they are equally devoted to their parents. But sources say the situation has now become a logistical and emotional nightmare for the siblings, reports the Mail on Sunday. The source told the outlet, unless she makes a decision to pick one side and one side only, she will spend a lot of time in the car. Overall, it falls to the princesses to soothe family divisions. They are struggling with Christmas. Behind palace doors, the sisters are said to be caught in a painful tug of love after being invited to Sandringham without their shamed father. King Charles is keen for the royal family to project unity over the festive period, with senior royals expected to attend church at St Mary Magdalene on Christmas morning. But Andrew has been discouraged from joining the family at the Norfolk estate following his spectacular fall from grace over the Epstein scandal. That has left Beatrice and Eugenie facing an impossible choice between duty to the crown and loyalty to their parents. Beatrice is said to feel a strong obligation to be seen alongside the King and Queen at Sandringham, standing shoulder to shoulder with the firm during the most public royal moment of the year. However, sources claim she also feels compelled to spend what could be a final Christmas at Royal Lodge with her father, amid growing uncertainty over his future living arrangements. Andrew and Sarah Ferguson have been forced out of Royal Lodge, adding to the emotional strain facing their daughters. Princess Eugenie, meanwhile, is said to be slightly less torn by the drama. Living in Portugal with her husband, Jack Brooksbank, and their young family, she is believed to be considering staying away to avoid the festive fallout. A source claimed being so far away from the drama could be the easiest option for the younger princess. The family tensions were laid bare earlier this week at the christening of Beatrice and Edoardo Mapelli, Mozzi's one-month-old daughter Athena. Andrew and Fergie were among the few royals to attend the ceremony at the Chapel Royal, with many senior family members noticeably absent. King Charles and Queen Camilla were at nearby Clarence House at the time, but did not attend the service. The 77-year-old monarch just days ago revealed good news that doctors are reducing his cancer treatment next month, almost 2 years since he was first diagnosed. Other notable absentees included the Prince and Princess of Wales, Princess Anne, and the Duke and Duchess of Gloucester. The only royals spotted inside the chapel were Eugenie and Jack Brooksbank, underlining just how fractured the family has become. With Christmas fast approaching, the York sisters are now facing a festive heartbreak, trying to keep the peace in a family more divided than ever.